Padme Amidala was the kind of senator who could give a heartfelt speech about democracy, while wearing a royal headdress that looked like a chandelier, and somehow still pull it off. She walked into the Galactic Senate like she was about to host the Oscars, but instead of giving out awards, she accidentally helped vote in a Sith Lord with a military budget. It's one of those things you don't realize in the moment. Like spilling coffee on your keyboard, and then wondering why your computer won't boot 6 hours later. Now, let's be clear. I'm not here to slam Padme. I mean, come on. She stood up to gangsters, went toe-to-toe with dictators, married a Jedi, and kept it secret from the most nosy group of monks in the galaxy. That takes skills. But somewhere between all the peace talks and assassination attempts, she missed a few red flags. Like her husband slaughtering an entire village and then proposing 10 minutes later. That probably deserved more than a warm hug and a wardrobe change. The real problem wasn't that she wasn't smart. It's that she was, but she kept believing the system could fix itself. She thought evil would politely wait its turn on the Senate floor while she drafted a resolution. Meanwhile, Palpatine was backstage writing Order 66 in permanent marker and cackling like a space Dracula. Padme wasn't T-dumb. But she was stuck playing chess in a game where everyone else had switched to And yeah, I get it. It's hard to stay skeptical when you've been raised on ideals and served as queen before you even finish puberty. The girl didn't get a teenage rebellion arc. She got planetary invasions and Senate hearings, but still, at a certain point, when your co-workers start clapping as democracy dies, maybe it's time to rethink your career path. She gave everything to a republic that barely noticed when it died, and somehow she still believed there was good left in it. In Anakin, in all of it. That's not weakness. That's heartbreak, wearing a brave face. It's what makes her story weirdly relatable and quietly devastating. Because who hasn't put their faith in something that ended up failing them completely? In this video, we're diving into how Padme's idealism made her a tragic figure, how her blind trust in politics and people helped doom the Republic, and why she's still one of the most quietly powerful characters in Star Wars. We're talking missed opportunities, bad boyfriends, political disasters, and the bittersweet truth that sometimes the good guys lose, not because they weren't strong enough, but because they refused to believe how bad things had really gotten. Padme Amidala is one of those Star Wars characters who always feels important, but we rarely stop and ask why she made the choices she did, or how those choices helped set the whole Republic on fire. She wasn't just a side character in the background while Anakin and Obi-Wan did Jedi things. She was right there in the Senate chambers, casting votes, making alliances, shaping policy, and sometimes getting played like a fiddle. How does someone so intelligent, so eloquent, so confident in the face of danger, end up becoming one of the most politically exploited figures in the galaxy? That's the paradox of Padme. She walked into the political arena with genuine hope, and left it unknowingly paving the road to dictatorship. She trusted that diplomacy and idealism could fix everything, which is noble, and also a recipe for disaster in Star Wars. It's especially wild when you look at her early career. Queen at 14, overthrowing the Trade Federation's hold on Naboo, organizing a planetary resistance with Jar Jar Binks of all people. The girl had guts, but her solutions always assumed that the system just needed better voices. Never that the system itself might be broken, even when the cracks were showing. Even when Palpatine's shadow started stretching across everything, Padme held on to the belief that words would win over war, that truth and justice would always be enough. She saw the rising tension, the growing power of corporate interests, the erosion of Senate trust. But she kept playing by the rules, and maybe that's the tragedy of it all. She didn't lack strength, she just had the wrong kind. She fought hard, but kept assuming everyone else wanted peace as much as she did. But this wasn't a fairy tale, and she wasn't surrounded by Disney princesses. She was standing in a den of vipers, wearing a diplomatic smile. Okay, let's talk about the emergency powers thing, because that moment right there still makes me want to throw a lightsaber through the Senate walls. Padme was literally in the room when Jar Jar stood up and handed Palpatine the keys to the entire galaxy. And what did she do? She left. She just bounced, because apparently going to talk to Anakin was more important than stopping a political coup. And look, I get it. Love is hard, attachments are messy. But girl, democracy is dying, and your boyfriend is already teetering on the edge of a mental breakdown. Maybe this is not the best time for a lakeside retreat. Watching her sail away while the Republic implodes in slow motion is like watching someone water their plants during an earthquake. It's almost impressive. It wasn't just one moment either. Padme kept trying to navigate politics like she was in a high school debate team instead of a collapsing government. She thought committee meetings could outpace a Sith Lord with a 20-year plan, and bless her heart, she kept thinking a new amendment or a vote of no confidence would magically restore balance. There's something deeply heartbreaking about Padme's story. Not because she failed, but because she tried so hard and still got crushed by a machine that never cared. She wasn't corrupt. She wasn't greedy. She wasn't power-hungry. She actually believed in the Republic. Believed that government could work if people just showed up and did the right thing. And that belief, that core optimism, is what broke her in the end. She watched the Senate decay from the inside, watched her colleagues turn into cowards and sellouts, watched her own husband slip away into darkness, and still, she held on to hope like it was the only thing she had left. When you hear her final words, there's still good in him. It's not just about Anakin, it's about everything she thought was worth saving. The Republic, the Jedi, the future. She thought they were building together, and the universe responded with silence, with flames, with a black mask and a funeral. The irony is that her death wasn't just personal, it was political, a symbol of everything that had gone wrong. She died as the Republic died, quiet, forgotten, sidelined by louder voices and sharper weapons. While the galaxy moved on like she was never there at all, Padme deserved better. She deserved to see her children grow up, to see the Empire fall, to know that her sacrifices weren't for nothing. And yet, despite all of this, Padme's legacy still echoes. You watch her in the Clone Wars series, and suddenly everything sharpens. She's not just a senator, she's out there defusing bombs, confronting gangsters, interrogating separatists, all while wearing a cloak and 5-inch heels like it's casual Friday. She walks into meetings with warlords and doesn't flinch. She lectures Anakin and Obi-Wan about diplomacy while dodging blaster bolts, and still finds time to call out corruption on her own side. That's not just bravery, that's conviction. And honestly, it's kind of jaw-dropping. There's a reason everyone from Bail Organa to Mon Mothma looked up to her. She had presence, not the kind that demands the room, but the kind that changes it just by speaking. She made people listen, even if the system didn't act. That's rare in Star Wars, where shouting and swinging sabers usually gets the spotlight. And even as the war twisted everything, she stayed true to her principles. She opposed the creation of more clones. She questioned the military build-up. She tried to create diplomatic backchannels when no one else bothered. It wasn't just naive hope, it was stubborn, relentless courage. She may not have saved the Republic, but she stood there until the very end, trying to. And in a universe full of force-wielding warriors and laser-slinging smugglers, sometimes the real power comes from someone who refuses to give up on peace, even when everything around them is falling apart. Padme's story isn't just a tragedy, it's a blueprint, a warning, and maybe even a spark of something better. She wasn't the only one who believed in the Republic, but she was one of the few who believed it could be healed, not replaced, not destroyed, but healed. Her faith in democracy might have cost her everything, but it also planted seeds. Leia didn't just inherit her mother's smile. She inherited that same defiant hope, that refusal to back down in the face of tyranny. And that's not an accident. That's legacy. We look at Padme now and see the flaws, the missed warnings, the political missteps, but we also see a woman who fought for ideals most people had already given up on. In a time when everyone was choosing sides, she was choosing principles. It would have been easy for her to walk away, to escape the Senate, to raise her kids somewhere safe, but she didn't. She stayed in the fight, right until the moment the fight ended. And that kind of courage doesn't disappear, it echoes. Maybe that's why her story matters now more than ever. Because even in the middle of failure, even when everything fell apart, she never stopped believing that justice could win. And sometimes, that belief is the most powerful weapon anyone has. In the end, Padme Amidala wasn't destroyed by blasters or bombs or lightsabers. She was destroyed by disillusionment, by watching the world she believed in collapse under its own weight, and realizing, too late, that her hope alone wasn't enough to stop it. She loved too blindly, trusted too deeply, and tried to hold a crumbling structure together with nothing but speeches and sincerity. And the Republic didn't just fall in spite of her efforts. It fell because those efforts couldn't adapt to the reality of a darker game being played beneath the surface. Palpatine didn't need to defeat Padme, he just needed her to believe in the process, long enough for him to twist it beyond recognition, and that's exactly what happened. She became the Republic's last true believer, and that belief became her undoing. It's not that she wasn't right to care, it's that caring in a system that rewards manipulation becomes a liability. The idealist becomes the pawn, the reformer becomes the scapegoat, and history turns them into a footnote while the Empire marches on. But we remember her now, not as a fool, not as a failure, but as the last voice of conscience in a galaxy that stopped listening. Padme's legacy wasn't her power, it was her heart. And in a universe full of darkness, that still counts for something. Thank you for watching the whole video. I make videos because of my love for Star Wars and Marvel. I've been asked countless times how I get my subtitles, and I generate them automatically with a tool I built. That same tool can be used here on my website. It's completely free, and doesn't require signing up. My website contains the subtitle generator that is perfect for any video, blogging post, where you can sign up with your email and receive notifications for when I post, and also my 3 channels. Critical Analysis Hub focuses on Star Wars and Marvel movies. Critical Analysis Hub Plus looks at Star Wars and Marvel shows. And Critical Analysis Hub XP centers on video games, like The Last of Us series, Jedi Survivor, and GTA 5. Thank you for being a fan.